This instructional video is about classifying quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals. As you know, quadrilaterals are defined as closed figure with four sides made up of line segments. So, before we start classifying quadrilaterals, there are some symbols you need to be familiar with. For example, if you saw two line segments, and if you saw a little symbol that looks like this, these two arrowheads are indicating that these two lines, or these two sides of a quadrilateral, are parallel to each other. Same is true if you saw a set of lines with two arrowheads. That means those two lines are parallel to each other. If you also saw a pair of sides indicated by a notch on each, it means those two line segments, the sides that is, are equal in distance. So they're congruent. We're talking about the distance, the length between the segment endpoints. And again, same is true if you saw the other two pairs of sides of a quadrilateral. If you saw two notches on each, it means those two corresponding sides are congruent. And of course, you know the symbol where you saw, if you see an angle with this little notch on it, that means this is a right angle. Okay, so parallel, denoted by single arrows or double arrows. Congruent, either indicated by single notches or double notches. And right angle. These are the symbols you need to be familiar with when we're talking about classifying quadrilaterals. First up on the list, we have a four-sided polygon, a quadrilateral that is, which can be seen as this. And let me explain. Remember those symbols? It means those two sides are parallel to each other. The distance between here and there, they're equal. And let me do another one. So this four-sided polygon has two pairs of parallel lines. And this is defined as parallelogram because the opposite sides are equal. That's the definition of a parallelogram. Is this parallelogram? Look at that. This is also a parallelogram because just like this parallelogram, these two sides are parallel and these two sides are parallel, but this parallelogram also happens to have four right angles. Four right angles. And in this case, this parallelogram, yes, is still a parallelogram because it satisfies the condition of opposite sides being equal. But this parallelogram also happens to be a rectangle. That's where the word angle is coming in because they have four right angles. Four right angles. Let me introduce you to another parallelogram. You know what that looks like, huh? But check this out. These two are parallel to each other. These two are parallel to each other, which makes it a parallelogram. This is still a parallelogram. And they have four right angles, so this is also a rectangle. But I know it's hard to see. Those are notches, just like over here, where the length, the sides are congruent. And because of that, now this becomes a square. A square also happens to have four congruent sides. And finally, this is also a parallelogram because we have two pairs of parallel lines. And four sides are congruent. But check this out. It is not 90 degrees. Therefore, it is a parallelogram. But since it does not have a 4 right angle, it's not a rectangle. But since it does have 4 equal congruent sides, like a square, we have a new name, and this is called now a rhombus. And these are all parallelograms. Is that crazy or what? Okay. So these were all the cases when we have a pair of lines that are parallel to each other. If they're parallel to each other, we have a parallelogram. How about those that don't have 2 pairs, but just 1 pair of lines that are parallel? For example, here are 2 line segments that are parallel, joined by 2 sides. Well, if you only have 1 pair of parallel lines, then this is known to be a trapezoid. It's not a parallelogram anymore, it's just a trapezoid, where there are no 90-degree angles, so it cannot be a rectangle. And to be a parallelogram, each opposite sides must both be equal, but in this case it's 1. So that's a trapezoid. And if you had a trapezoid where these 2 lines are parallel, but these 2 are not, but instead they are equal in length, that means congruent sides, then this is called an isosceles trapezoid. And sometimes we call it a regular trapezoid.
Pardon the interruption. Please report to the office. Thank you.
Known as regular trapezoid sometimes. And in a case where there are no parallel lines at all, but we have congruent sides, and even looks like what it is going to be called, which is a kite. A kite does not have any of these characteristics except a pair of congruent sides. That's a kite. And of course, if you have a quadrilateral that have none of these characteristics, only for the fact that they have 4 sides, such as here's one, here's another, here's another, and here's another. So this is not the same as this one, which is also not same as this one, which is definitely not the same as that one. They're all different sides, which makes it impossible to make it into a parallel lines. And that means also they can never ever become a 90-degree angle. In this case, it's none of these. It's just a quadrilateral. The simplest form of a 4-sided polygon. There you have it. 4-sided polygon, quadrilateral.